Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon to all. You're tuning in to our webcast on digitalization and sustainability. Today, we will seek to explore the key impacts digitalization brings to society, both negative and positive. This webcast was developed exclusively for Bursa Malaysia by Corporate Citizenship, a global management consultancy specializing in sustainability and corporate responsibility. And the intention of the webcast is to help Malaysian public listed companies enhance their knowledge and understanding about sustainability issues, and specifically today about how digitalization affects sustainability. So my name is Melissa. I will be the host for today's webcast, and I'm a consultant at Corporate Citizenship. So here's a brief outline of what we'll talk about. Today, the two most significant forces changing the business landscape are arguably one, digitalization, referring to things like big data, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and the second one being sustainability. This is the trend where companies are starting to look beyond financial indicators to define their business success. But I think we're quite interested to see what happens when both of these powerful forces converge. Wouldn't it be such an interesting space to understand what happens right there at the intersection? Now, this territory has been largely unexplored, and this is what our discussion today will seek to uncover. So if you look at your screen now, you'll see a rough map. This is something we've put together to understand how this universe is sort of continually evolving as we continue to discover the benefits of what digitalization can bring to society, which is highlighted in green, and the risks, which is highlighted in red. So in terms of benefits, I'll just quickly run through some of the ideas here. You see things like social media helping to connect people. You see blockchain technology leading to greater transparency and supply chains. We have virtual reality technology enabling certain professions like architects and doctors to enhance their skills through more realistic training. We also have data for good, where, for example, where charities are able to track the flows of human traffic so that street fundraising can be conducted more effectively. We also see artificial intelligence or AI being used for really good causes. For example, drones driven by AI, which can deliver life-saving supplies to remote places, or even drones that can track illegal fishing and poaching and mining in remote areas. And then on the other hand, you see there can also be a lot of backlash using technology, and this is highlighted in red.
So some key examples
of risks include data security issues, of course, things like data leaks, reduced privacy as corporates use data increasingly for marketing. There's also been this talk about AI leading to loss of jobs, and robots are increasingly also replacing people. And then when using social media, there's also risk of things like fake news, the echo chamber effects, and internet addiction. So these issues have also been increasingly dominating the news, and here I just show two of the most recent news articles which you may have encountered as well. So the first one is a recent report by a global risk analytics firm predicted that robots are actually predicted to replace more and more low-skilled jobs in sectors such as electronics, garment manufacturing, and even farming. And this will create a knock-on effect where people will be forced to find work further down along the supply chains, where abuses are more likely to occur and regulation and worker rights can be more easily ignored. And actually, Malaysia is one country highlighted in the report at risk of this trend because of its large electronics sector. And the second one is a bit more recent. In July, WhatsApp users in India used WhatsApp to spread rumors of roaming child kidnapping gangs, leading to mob violence and the killing of more than 20 people in India. And as a result, WhatsApp later announced that it would place limits on message forwarding, for example, indicating on a message if it has been forwarded. And I think all of us have already started to see this decision affect us. This is an exciting space, as you can see, and there's a lot more we can delve into. And today we are privileged to have with us two speakers who are in the thick of this trend to join us in conversation. So the first person we would like to invite is Nate Lowe. He's the Director of Corporate Responsibility and Employee Engagement for Asia Pacific, and he's from Visa. And the second speaker is Jasmine Begum from Microsoft, and she's the Director of Legal, Government and Corporate Affairs in Malaysia and new markets. So a very warm welcome to you both, Nate and Jasmine.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's start with a very broad question, and I hope my presentation and the opening slides hasn't painted an overly bleak landscape. So let's just start with hearing your views. Are you excited about the future of technology?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. I mean, here in Visa, we actually look a lot in terms of, trying to see what the future of payments will look like, what the future of commerce will look like, how we can actually use data for good in some instances. And all this wouldn't be actually possible if we didn't have such technology. And you're right in that some of these technology poses risks. But we have measures to counter these risks. And I think it's very important for anyone who wants to decide between pursuing technology or not to think about the opportunity costs of not exploring said technology, because there's so much that can be done with technology to support, say, the Sustainable Development Goals, and helping communities and people everywhere have better lives. So yeah, it's definitely something that we are a proponent of.
And you, Jasmine, are you excited about the future of technology?
There was a time where technology was seen to belong to a certain class, but the democratization of technology today has enabled us to bridge the not just the digital divide, but to bridge the opportunity divide. I'm truly excited about this opportunity, that the future of technology and how we harness the good in it. And through the various industrial revolutions, we certainly have seen also in this instance where you two spoke about job displacement, and that continues to be one of the biggest concerns. But we are truly excited about what the future of technology holds for all of us and for the future generation.
Maybe, Nate, you could start off with has been the key benefits, in your opinion, for Visa harnessing technology to enhance corporate responsibility?
So in terms of Visa, now our business is actually digital at the core. We are in the business of displacing cash, which is physical currency, with forms of digital currency that smoothens transactions, that allows commerce to happen without infrastructure and costs associated with managing cash. And we also see a lot of benefit for communities, especially at remote areas where they don't have the necessary banking infrastructure for higher levels of commerce to take place. And that's actually a big issue for a lot of markets when it comes to tourism. For example, some markets which are so cash reliant, they don't have that influx of tourist dollars because of the reliance of cash and the difficulties in getting different amounts of currencies for tourists. So that's one. So, I mean, through our business itself, we do have programs to drive sustainability in our corporate responsibility and social impact suite of programs. However, the way that I see it is actually just by doing our core business itself and doing it well and working with our partners in various markets around the world, including Malaysia, our business itself drives sustainability goals for communities everywhere, and therefore we do see it as a great benefit. And like we mentioned, there are risks associated with anything. If you compare the risks between digital currency and physical currencies, there's going to be a lot of debate going on naturally. But we do have the best-in-class measures in the world to tackle these risks. So yeah, I think definitely the benefits are insurmountable.
It's great that you mentioned these specific examples, and actually it'd be quite interesting to hear how Visa has mitigated the risks involved to ensure that the benefits are fully harnessed.
So, great question. I mean, for the 16,000 employees in Visa, we actually have a large technology and risk team. We have a lot of resources and technology in place, and maybe some of it is Microsoft's. So while we have these teams in place, working day and night to tackle risks, we actually have an ethos by which we design our products and services. And when we work with our partners, we always talk about responsible innovation. And what we mean by that is when it comes to Visa products and services, we always try and start with security by design right at the beginning of conceptualizing anything new, conceptualizing any innovations or any products or services, rather than think of super cool innovations and then figure out security at the end as a patch. So when we do that for everything that we invest in or for everything that we want to create, that is the best way for us to think about risks and help to overcome it. And there's a lot of technology in place as well in terms of overcoming these risks. And there are many steps that we take, many layers that we do, such as devaluing the value of data that is being transacted. We put in data analytics and sciences to actually stop fraud before it occurs. But as long as we look at baking in security by design at everything we do, that's the most important thing that, any company or any business should take.
Okay, great, thanks. I think later we'll probably talk a lot more about data privacy and security, which I think for both Visa and Microsoft would be material issues in talking about digitalization. But maybe let's hear from Microsoft now. What, in your opinion, Jasmine, are the key benefits and how do you also mitigate the risks of technology?
So I will go to the core of the company's mission. We have been around for more than 40 years, and the mission of the company is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And that is the driving mantra. It is like what Nate said, it is not something it's not an afterthought to build in a philanthropic program or a community program or a sustainable program. For us, it is the core of our business to empower every person and every organization on the planet. And what does that mean? And what is the role of technology? Today I'm going to share a particular segment. We largely service four big buckets. We look at youth, we look at migration, people, stateless, we support non-profits, and we look at accessibility. So I'm going to talk about the digital workforce. So for us, the digital workforce means it is able to bring everyone into the workforce. So people with disability now are able to contribute back to the economy with the use of technology. And I thought today I will talk a bit more about people with disability. The reason being, in Malaysia, the government of Malaysia made a commitment in 2008 to have 1% of the civil service to be part of the people with disability, that 1% of people with disability will be part of the civil service. And today with technology, we are able to meet that commitment. So many countries around the world, and even in Malaysia, people with disability largely put on welfare benefits. But with technology, they are able to contribute back and make a living, and technology becomes an enabler. And to us, as a digital workforce, they are today able to contribute and work from anywhere at any time and contribute not to only the economy as we know it, but also be part of the larger gig economy. And as Nate said as well, security and privacy is by design, makes these products the safest it can be. So in fact, and technology enables this and bridges this gap and allows you to serve across the world. Sitting in Kuala Lumpur, you are able today to do copywriting for an ad firm in Thailand. So those are things that we see emerging out of this opportunity to digitize and future-proof employees in the different markets.
Yeah, in fact, I was just looking at Microsoft's sustainability report and I realized that accessibility seems to be a key focus for you guys, trying to use things like inclusive design to make sure that, like you mentioned, disabled customers are also able to access your
It's
technology. So that's really interesting.
absolute, yeah, absolutely. As Nate was talking about security and privacy by design in being built into the products, for us, the inclusive design is part of. It's not an afterthought. With 1 billion people with disability, technology that is inclusive by design enables opportunity that we would have not thought before. I've shared the video of Saqib Sheikh, who was part of the team that came up with Seeing AI to enable people with loss of sight or low vision to be able to see, quote unquote. So definitely we see so much of opportunity and the benefit of technology to those who need it most.
I'm moving back to another key issue that I wanted to talk about. So we've talked about data security, but there's also data privacy issues. After news like Cambridge Analytica broke, there seems to be a great societal sort of fear of corporates getting access to increasing amounts of data, and they are almost afraid of how much companies actually know about things like personal privacy information. So for Visa, do you resonate with this? And how does Visa seek to overcome this increasing awareness on data privacy issues?
Yeah. So I did mention that, we work on responsible innovation, and I mean, besides security being baked in, privacy is also one of the things that we look into. I think for any technology company out there, and I'm sure Microsoft would have this as well, is, for example, Visa services. We always give our consumers, our card holders, access to choose what they want to look at in terms of targeted services, and those. They get a choice to choose, modify, or decline these types of things on their own accord. So we do always provide access to a consumers to have that level of control in terms of what kind of data they want to put out there and whether or not they want to be contacted based on whatever data is out there. But additionally, and to your point, awareness is a very important thing, and the Cambridge Analytica thing certainly caused a lot of awareness. So while we do the payments, digital payments part, we also work on a lot of things to do with financial literacy for communities everywhere, and we engage and empower them with the knowledge that they need to protect themselves. For example, in some of the financial literacy programs that we do around the world with students in schools, we have started including elements of data privacy and protection in the financial literacy education programs so that from a young age, they're aware of these issues and they grow up with the knowledge to better able protect themselves in this digital era. And that's working in partnerships with our partners in market as well for this kind of education to take place.
And there's also things like machine learning and big data and algorithms being used by companies for sale and advertising issues. So how does Visa ensure that when you use this technology, it is used in an ethical manner?
So, like I said, in a broad sense, we provide our cardholders with those levels of privacy protection and choice and access, right? But we also have our internal rules and standards that we have set for ourselves. Like, for example, we welcome and embrace the GDPR as a level of protection that we have for our cardholders. In fact, before the GDPR was enforced, it was actually already in line with our own standards of protection that we set to ourselves. So when GDPR hit, it was a matter of enhancing and aligning some aspects of our own rules to comply with GDPR. But I would say, in terms of the ethical use of the data, there are ways that we can use data analytics and sciences to package it in a way that does not reveal any identifiable information about specific consumers. For example, data analytics has the capabilities, as everyone knows, to actually provide businesses and communities and even nonprofits with patterns of how commerce moves, just like you mentioned just now, right? How charities can do their fundraising better. For example, in a 24-hour study, and we just looked at visa data around the world, we found that Australians had equal restaurant transactions between lunch and dinner with their Visa cards, compared to Russians who spent more on restaurants only during lunch, and during dinner hours, they go grocery shopping. So what do these patterns mean for, say, charities in both countries? Would it make sense for Australian charities to partner with restaurants for donation programs during lunch and dinner hours in a way that we still keep the consumer data protected and nothing is targeted, but it allows the charities to actually make better decisions in terms of when they want to do their donation drives, compared to Russia, who might want to set up donation booths near the lunch place during the day and then move to supermarkets by night. And all this is done in a respectful way where no one is identified. Identifiers are still protected, but it allows nonprofit organizations and charities to raise funds better. So we can see how we can still be ethical in terms of keeping personal information private, but allowing organizations like charities to do better work using data and analytics.
Thanks for sharing, Nate. I think, yes, you're right. It's so much good that can be harnessed from data, but it's all about drawing specific guidelines so that the ethical concerns are being addressed. And maybe we could also turn to Jasmine. So data privacy must be a material issue for Microsoft as well. And do you resonate with what Nate had shared earlier?
I absolutely agree with Nate. When GDPR, with GDPR being the General Data Protection Regulation becoming the gold standard for privacy, we too had strict privacy policies in place even before GDPR. And GDPR allowed us to further enhance our services and to ensure to protect the protection of our customers. So definitely, for us, GDPR being the gold standard and complying with in-country data protection laws like the PDPA, the Personal Data Protection Act in Malaysia, becomes a natural follow-through to our commitment to ensure privacy and security to our customers. In the era where customers move, even regulated customers move largely to the cloud so that they could focus on their core business, we find that having trust element as an important component to what we do. It is like going to a bank. You would put your money in a bank that you trust. Similarly, giving your data to a company like Microsoft, that is our core business, to manage your data. So we would want to ensure that you trust your data with us and we do not tap your data and we do not use your data for any targeting. So to answer your question, Melissa, certainly for us, privacy, security, transparency, and compliance builds the entire foundation of the services that we deliver to our customers. We do know data security and privacy is being heavily debated due to recent events, but as a company who looks to ensure that customer data belongs to the customer and not to us, the company, we are also very careful of law enforcement requests. We always direct law enforcement requests to the customers themselves, and we have repeatedly demonstrated our commitment to data privacy by in various scenarios. And in the case of data privacy, we see two big vulnerable groups. Those are children and the elderly. They are usually targeted because they do not secure their devices. And what we do as an organization is to go out to educate them on safety and privacy. And we do this at schools to ensure that children are taught the basics of being safe online. One of the things that we see increasingly is that children, being digital natives that they are, become reverse mentors to the elders. So Certainly, it's interesting times. We see that as a company, we have a responsibility to not only ensure that the products that we sell and the services that we bring to our customers ensure the highest standards of security and privacy, but also creating awareness and going out to ensure that the various generations are kept safe. And we do a special program, a digital literacy program in the juvenile prison in Malaysia, and there are 13 schools, juvenile